All right, so let's get started. Today's session is all about creating and producing killer creative content. I've just had such a blast designing the session to be able to fully showcase what AI can do. And I think it's really unbelievable that the difference in what one could create with AI 12 months ago to what one can do today. And I can only imagine what capability AI will have in 6 months, 12 months' time. Like it's really incredible. So great to have you here today to play around together, to learn, share, and ask a whole lot of questions. But before I get really into the session today, I just thought I'd take a step back and talk a little bit about me, just because there is quite a number of you today that haven't actually ever met me before. And I just wanted to share a little bit about why I am so passionate about helping mums and to also learn AI. So over the last 14 years, I have been working on big consumer goods brands. And the first photo of me is just in a Unilever Lipton tea plantation in Kenya picking tea. I worked on big brands such as Nescafe, big portfolios, categories, and most recently came back to work at Fonterra, managing the Anchor brand. Now, coming back to New Zealand and working with a child for 2 years, I realized that I really wanted to spend more time with my child. So I took a career break, which was really fabulous. And at the same time as taking a career break, I reflected on the time that I was working a lot of hours a week and only really spending about 30 minutes a day with my child. And it really occurred to me that I would have loved to have had more support of women going through the same around me, especially to share stories around the big transformation that happens as you become a mum, but also the feelings of guilt that can play up, the identity shift, but just really to be able to kind of go through that process together. And really, that was the impetus for creating the Wellspirit community and bringing women together across New Zealand in the industry of marketing. So it's been over the last few months really fantastic to meet so many women around New Zealand and to create lots of masterclasses and resources to bring us together and to share our experiences going through this and to support each other. Now, I'm also a mum to a 5-year-old called Max. I'm a solo mum. And so that kind of brings an added sense of responsibility and commitments as well. And that's been a big journey for me, but it's really been really fabulous. And I live on Waiheke Island. I love the outdoors and I love kayaking, everything like that. So it's a fabulous place to live and not too far away from Auckland as well. So that's just a little bit of insight into what I do. And not only am I doing Wellspirit, but I'm also working in a marketing advisory capacity as well for a US-based AI startup that really is a huge opportunity for me to learn all that there is about AI, intellectual property law, media and AI, and how that world is fundamentally changing when it comes to media, copyright, royalties, licensing, video platforms, and generated content using natural language as well. So that's a bit about me in the background and why I'm really here today presenting this session. So the session I think is going to be a really great one. But before I go into it, I wanted to share with you an initiative that we're kicking off from this week. And I think it will be a lot of fun and it'll be an amazing opportunity to showcase with your peers, your colleagues, and your own communities some of the amazing things that you will be learning about AI, such as AI images, videos, agents, automated workflows. And it'll be a great opportunity to share those via way of LinkedIn posts with your community. So basically, there is a challenge and it has prizes. And the prizes will be for the posts that go the most viral. So there will be a first place prize and a second place prize. So the first place prize will be 500,000 of AutoHive credits. And AutoHive is the agent building platform that we'll be using during our last week of this program, as well as a $50 Prezi card, which could come up useful in advance for Christmas. And there's also a second place prize. But let me go into a little bit more detail about how this challenge works. It will run throughout the program, and you can post once or you can post as many times as you like, sharing some of the stuff you've learned or you've created through each of our sessions. And at the end of the program, the winner will be announced, and it will just be posts that you create around, look what I learned, look what I created, and you'll be able to just tag AI Live Learning Lab and Wellspirit. And if you do create a series of posts, it will just be the post that does the best that will count towards the contest. And how we will judge the best performing post, we'll look at its virality. So that will be based on a total number of comments, likes, and reposts. So this is a great way to give you a little bit of motivation to start posting. And obviously posting on LinkedIn and sharing your knowledge is not only great for your profile, but also really important for others to learn what other people in marketing are learning in the space of AI too, because we're all in this learning journey together and we're all trying to catch the AI wave. Okay, so let me know if there's any questions in the chat. So what I'm going to do now as we kick into the session is talk to you about the task that we're going to do. I'm going to demo it, and it's going to be a combination of going to give you a bit of context and then going into the demo. And then after the demo, we will have a go together and try out things. And so it'll be a bit of a live tryout session as much as a Q&A also. Okay, so let's just walk through it step by step. Right, so today we are going to create a UGC video in under 5 minutes. Now, I appreciate that as I explain it and show it, it might take longer than 5 minutes, but I guarantee that if you were sitting at your own computer with the prompts and the tools in front of you, you would definitely be able to create a UGC video in under 5 minutes. Now, I've called it a user-generated content video because it could be, but equally it can be a demo video or a product lifestyle video. But the idea is to step by step show you how to, through AI, go from a text prompt into creating an image which shows both talent or model integrated with product, then to go from that IA image and to turn that into a series of video frames that not only showcase the product demonstration, but also have a voiceover, and to create those video frames into one entire reel, and then take that reel and optimize it for your brand, including captions, brand aligned music, logos, etc. And as we go through this, we'll look at how we can create variations along the way, so we are always ensure we're optimizing for the best possible content at every step. Okay, so the video here will probably show you a little bit of the direction we're traveling in. But what we will need and what I will be using to do this are these AI tools as follow. So ChatGPT-5 is my personal go-to AI assistant. So that's where I've been developing the prompts for this from, and what I'll be demonstrating on. But equally, if you're a Gemini or a Copilot user, you could use those tools to create prompts for what we're going to be using and creating throughout the session. The other tool that we'll be using is Google's AI image editor, and that's Nano Banana. So you can either access Google's AI image through Gemini, if that's your go-to AI assistant, or you can equally access it through that link here. And by the way, all of these links are in the document that I have put a link on at the top of the chat. Then we will also be using Google's AI video generation model, Veo 3, and that's a really powerful video generation tool. And so you access it through this link here. And we're using Flow because it's much higher quality and can generate better video frames and merging than what VEO can. And VEO is the model behind Gemini as it stands. I did try both, but couldn't get the outputs I wanted in VEO, so I had to go to Google Flow. And then CapCut is probably a tool that most of you know anyway, is obviously the video editor and design tool. And over the last year or so has been upgraded with more AI-powered capability. So they're the tools that I will be demoing first of all, and then we can jump into those tools at the back end of the session. Alrighty, let's kick on. So, as I mentioned before, this is the Google Doc. It has in it the links to the tools and all of the prompts that we'll use. Okay? So hopefully you guys can find that in the chat. If not, just let me know, and maybe I can go in and pin it if needed. I think you should be able to see it. Just let me know in the chat if not. All right. Okay. So now it's time for us to do a demo walkthrough. Okay. So just bear with me. There might be times where things are slow because I have so many screens open. It might be slow because I'm working with video content and I'm also on Waiheke Island Wi-Fi as well. So let's just do it. It'll be a bit of stepping through different tools and slides as well. Right. So our first task will be to use Nano Banana to merge images. Okay. So definitely I could have used Nano Banana to create my image of my talent or influencer if I'd wanted to, but I've specifically chosen this image because it's one that has a very clean kitchen setting, so a very clean bench and a very clean back of kitchen as well, because I'm going to use AI to create some elements that are going to go into that setting. So yes, the image looks a little bit less authentic than, a talent or model we could have in an image. But for the purposes of this demo, it's actually a perfect image for me to use. And definitely if this was my brand, I would use a person that looks a bit more realistic. But image is fantastic for what we're doing. And I've chosen a product that I would like to do a product demonstration for or a product ad. And I've just chosen Moody Blends. It's obviously a functional blend that is relevant for us as busy working mums. Okay. So our task here is to actually ask Nano Banana to merge these images together because I'd like the woman in this left-hand photo here to be able to demonstrate and showcase and demo this product, okay? So to do that, what we would do is start to prompt for this desired image. But I would like to talk a little bit about prompting for image generation because image generation prompting is a little bit different. Because if we really want to generate amazing photos and photos and images for video, then we really want to start using the language of visual imagery. And if not visual imagery, even more specific photography language, so to speak. And just taking an example here, it does make a difference in terms of your output. So if you're just doing basic image prompt, ChatGPT, give me a photo of a dog, yeah, it'll generate a great dog. Now you might get lucky and it might get you something a little bit more aligned of what you want in terms of setting or lighting. But a better image prompt, for example, would be a fluffy golden dog lying in a sunny window, photorealistic style. So here's a little bit more information around setting, composition, type of photographic style. So you're getting a much better in context image. And then obviously if you were a photography pro or a creative director working with a production house or photographer, you would get an image which would be something along the lines of the back of a prompt, a majestic, long-haired golden retriever dog lounging on a vintage windowsill, golden afternoon sunlight streaming through lace curtains, dust visible in the light rays, photorealistic style, captured with natural optics, shallow depth of field, warm color grading, 16:9 aspect ratio. So that's a lot of information, but you can really see how every single one of those nouns and words is really giving to that photo. So something as simple as I want a 16:9 aspect ratio, which is a landscape, Prompt GPT is automatically giving you that. The fact that you're giving explanations and descriptors for the vintage windowsill is really playing into the setting in as much as photorealistic style, which is giving you the beautiful photographic style image that you have here. So there is a bit of a prompting layout of which to follow to get such a beautiful image. And I think it's really important to know what the critical components are to get really fantastic photographs off the back of prompting. And I feel that this framework of critical components here is actually really useful. So while you might see that we'll ask ChatGPT for a prompt to get an image, it's really important to know how to assess whether that prompt's actually good and has all of the information you want it to have to create the output you want it. So knowing what you are looking for in terms of the subject and being able to specify that in terms of who, what defining traits. So if you were to ask for an armchair image, then knowing that you wanted a mid-century armchair takes you a long way to get closer to the expected output. Defining any action or what's happening in the moment is also really important. So someone might be in the sunlight, but well, what is it that they're actually doing? It's important to define that, such as you're stretching in the sunlight. And then setting is really critical. So think of place and time. And so if you are prompting an image, then, and you'll see that this becomes really critical as we go through the demo, we're going to be talking around the setting. So it might be a sunny kitchen window. And then we also want to play back to lighting and mood and how it feels, right? So we're going to talk about soft window light. We might be talking about morning light, for example. They're really important elements for any photographic images, especially lifestyle shots. And then style and medium. So obviously there's lots of different genres of photography, but just getting into the concept of, for example, if you want something that's really real life, then photorealistic is always a great descriptor to put in your prompt. Or if it's editorial fashion, again, that goes a long way to getting your imagery in the right direction. Now, camera and lens is obviously a little bit specific for a lot of us who don't have photography backgrounds, but we can always ask AI for recommendations on the type of camera and lens which would be best. But sometimes an 85mm portrait will get you really close to amazing portrait images, and likewise a 35mm environmental shot. Then composition is also really important, talking about how you want that photo framed up, centered, close up. And then last but not least, let's be really clear when you're prompting for a photographic image, what do you want out? So aspect ratio, so that's the width or dimensions, quality, so is that super high res or low res? It's just the information Nano Banana or VO3 really wants to work with, okay? So let's kick on. So let's get to the prompt, right? So what I did here was I first of all went to ChatGPT going, oh goodness, right, okay, how am I actually going to get Nano Banana to create these merged images of a woman holding this container in the best way possible? And it's like, okay, well, I'm not a creative director, I'm not a photographer. I'll go to ChatGPT and ask. So here you'll see is the prompt that I put into ChatGPT. And it says, I'm doing a demo video using an IA image generator model. I need a prompt that will feature the woman showcasing the Moody product container. So she should be holding it up to the camera. Ideally, there are also other things happening in the scene as it's breakfast time. Act as the creative director for Moody because you're wanting to generate some high quality brand aligned product shots with some room for the AI to also generate some variations. Please provide me with a prompt. Okay, so that I put into ChatGPT, and what it created out of it was the prompt output it created on the left-hand side. So it gave me a creative director brief style prompt, and this is the prompt that I then took on to put into Nano Banana. So it says a lifestyle product photo in a bright modern kitchen. A confident young woman with natural fresh energy is holding a vibrant blue, moody, functional AM blend container up toward the camera with a smile, as if recommending it to the viewer. The product is crisp and in focus, clearly showcasing the Moody logo, the functional AM blend descriptor, and the chai flavor descriptor. Now, I actually just edited that because for me, being a marketer, it's essential that your product logo and your descriptors are super clearly visible in any photography. The scene feels warm and authentic with soft natural lighting. On the counter nearby, a cup is placed and next to it a spoon lies alongside ready for use. In the background, subtle elements like a cutting board with fresh fruit and cereal boxes add a healthy, family-friendly morning breakfast vibe. Style, clean, modern, high-end, commercial photography, shallow depth of field, shot on a DSLR type lens with realistic details. Okay, so that was the prompt that ChatGPT 5 gave me. But of course, making sure that that's got everything that I need for an amazing image to come off the back of it, I use the framework that I just showed you to assess that it has everything. So I broke it down into subject, setting, mood, style, lens, camera. So for example, the mood, the scene feels warm and authentic with soft natural lighting. Sounds great. Style, clean, modern, high-end commercial photography. Fantastic. Just going up a page a little bit to the setting. Here I slightly adjusted things because I wanted a few more elements in the mix. And I also wanted to really highlight that it was definitely a morning breakfast vibe going on. And as I mentioned before, I definitely just optimized the prompt more to make sure that the branding on the Moody container was front and center. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to jump and grab the prompt and we're going to go, hopefully you can still see my screen. I've already done this because obviously I had to just make sure that it was working. So here is the Gemini Nano Banana screen. If you're in Gemini and you want to use Nano Banana, there are normally just elements that you can click at the bottom, and here you can see a little banana next to the image. So that means I know that I'm on Nano Banana. So basically we take that prompt, we insert it here, we check that it's all there, and we press go, and it will take just a few seconds to create. We would need to upload at the same time as prompting both the product container image and the person image, and we ask it to merge along with the prompt. Okay, so we upload both images and then we put the prompt back in. But because my Nano Banana already has memory, it's come to us combining both of those images and creating this product lifestyle shot here. So you can really see that from that prompt, it's creating a breakfast vibe in the sense of it has the elements that it's specified, cup, spoon, but it's also gone so far as having fresh fruit, toast and jam, and it's also put the cereal boxes in the background. Okay, so now you can understand why I chose such a photo to begin with in terms of having that blank counter space and the very blank background, because it's become a canvas to populate it with the setting and the compositional elements that I've wanted to. And I think what's really amazing about Nano Banana is that it just has the power to really integrate product images into lifestyle images, which I think is really fantastic. And I think I've never seen the capability of doing that to such an extent before. So going back into our presentation, so we've done that. We've merged two different images together. We've created a prompt. We've asked ChatGPT to create a creative director brief style prompt for us. To recap, we've analyzed it to make sure that it's got everything that we want it to do in terms of our photography checklist framework. And then we have our image here. Now, obviously, if we really wanted to make this on point for a brand, and for me, this is fine. It's just a demo. I'm not going to be selling this product. But ways we could optimize is obviously we could make sure that that prompt talked to our brand style guidelines and brand colors. If I was really using this to sell Moody, I would be thinking around the types of cereal boxes that I would want visible in the background, probably healthier looking ones. I would be thinking around perhaps a more natural way for that model to hold the product. But for now, that's perfectly fine because I can see the branding on the container. I would probably want to make that image to be more like a modern Kiwi inspired kitchen, and probably with a bit more morning light. I'd dial up the lighting in this. And then definitely, probably when it comes down to the flavor descriptor, I would be asking it to sharpen up or even increase the font size of that flavor descriptor. Now, AI can do that. And I think that's really amazing to be able to do that yourself as opposed to paying an agency thousands of dollars to do post-production updates following a photo shoot. And of course, we can always ask AI for lots of variations. And I haven't in the prompt I showed you before, but normally I would. I would ask it to create 4 different versions. Then I'd go in and I'd have a look and go, actually, I like that one best. I could have asked for 4 different variations of how she holds that container, potentially more naturally looking. It could have been on the bench, for example. And I could definitely have asked for a variation of the model in that shot unscrewing the container. And in fact, I do that, as you'll see moving forward. Okay, so AI is just really adaptive. It can really go in and optimize images, working with what you give it to however you want it to. And that has come such a long way from when I was working with AI prompting and image gen 12 months ago when my female talents would end up with mustaches. So, as I mentioned before, AI Gen for photography has come so far, and for video generation, I can only imagine what it's going to be able to do for us in 6 months to 12 months' time. So now is a really great time to start practicing and playing and see what it does. Right, so we now have our product lifestyle shot. Now what we want to do is to turn this into a video, but we're going to do that through creating a series of scenes or frames, as I would describe it. Right, so what we're going to do is to create a video, and we're going into Google Flow, which uses VO3. First, before we create the video, we need, as per any TV or video production timeline, we're going to actually ask for a script. Okay, so what we will do is go into ChatGPT, and I was just trialing out a whole lot of different things, from going really in depth to really general. And in fact, what I did in ChatGPT is I uploaded this product image here, and I simply asked ChatGPT, give me a Google VO3 script for this image that is aligned to product and brand. And the model should say something. Okay, so with the context that I've given Google VO3, it knows what Moody is in terms of the brand, and it's taking up brand cues from the image attached. It then generated an output that I'll show in a minute, but I also wanted, knowing what a 15-second product video should do, is definitely obviously sell the product and be able to clearly communicate its product benefits and features. So I did prompt it with a little bit more detail, and I asked ChatGPT to say, right, in that script, now optimize it with the product benefit. Try not to add too much text, knowing that I wanted to keep it within a 15-second time frame. So keep length the same, but add the following words. Supercharge your morning with this warming, caffeine-free blend designed to give you energy without the crash. All right, so that's basically the prompt. Goes into ChatGPT 5. And what ChatGPT 5 came back with was the output on the left-hand side of the screen. So it said, right, here's a Google VO3 script for the image you uploaded. The idea is to keep it natural, upbeat, and product focused, as if the woman is speaking directly to the camera while holding the Moody container. Like, that's fantastic. ChatGPT 5 read my mind. And here was the script that it produced. It's actually really simple, but to be honest, it's delivering what we need for the demo. So it said, women in a bright kitchen holding the blue Moody container toward the camera smiling. And here's the dialogue, or the dialogue of the woman. I never start my day without my Moody functional AM blend. It's the best way to supercharge your morning. ChatGPT also gave some recommendations for the on-screen text or overlay. Moody, your AM ritual, caffeine-free energy, bullet, up to 5 hours, bullet, no crash. Okay, so that's what it gave me. I thought, it hasn't quite captured the benefits, so I said, please give me another scene. And with the following dialogue, try this warming caffeine-free blend formulated to give you up to 5 hours of energy without the crash. Okay, so that's the script on the left-hand side, and ChatGPT 5 also just basically gave a bit of a summary on the right hand of the screen, which was about scene style, talent, product, length, music, color grade. So that's just really good information to check that the prompt is containing all of the elements that you need. So just knowing that the length's 12 to 15 seconds, fantastic. The music, if anything was relevant, would be there, and then the color grade, as well as the talent and the scene style. But very much we're working with the left-hand side and the script that you can see here. Okay, so it's very much a script for visual and audio. So what it did is that it then created, because I asked it for the first scene, which was the first dialogue line, and then I optimized it for dialogue two. It gave us two different frames. What I can do is show you how I got to those outputs. Let's play them first, and then I'll show you how we got to them. Okay? So hopefully this plays and you can see it.
I never start my day without my Moody Functional AM blend. It's the best way to supercharge your morning.
Right, so you can see there's a few text errors, but that's fine. I would normally, if I was using a VO3, not actually ask it to use text. I would do all the text overlays in CapCut. But I think for the purposes of this video, it's actually quite helpful to say, wow, VO3 can do visual, audio, and text. First of all, the prompt that we used here didn't actually use New Zealand English. It was a US voiceover. So that was the only change I made to that video. So that was scene one. As before I said, I wanted the lady to also talk about the benefit. So we've got a second scene or a second frame here, which I'll play.
This warming caffeine-free blend, formulated to give you up to 5 hours of energy without the crash. Moody, it's your AM ritual.
Okay, so you can see here then the AI is now going the next step and showing the model actually unscrewing the container, which I think is really amazing that the AI can actually do that. I didn't know that that could do it when I first started out, but it can. So that's really awesome. So I'm just going to show you how to do that within Google VO3. So I'm just going to take the prompt that's on the prompt document, and I'm going to Google VO3. So obviously I've got those outputs already. So what we do is we go into the prompt box. In the prompt box, there's a couple of options. So obviously you can go text to video, which we do want today, frames to video, which we'll do later, and you can either go ingredients to video. So imagine if you're doing a cooking demonstration, you can literally put your recipe in here and then automatically have a model demonstrate your recipe demonstration. It's amazing. Right, so we're going to put the script into here. So scene, woman in a bright kitchen holding the blue Moody container toward the camera. I never start my day. It's the best way to supercharge your morning. So unlike before, I had two different frames. This time I will just put one frame in so you can see the output will be quicker. And then on-screen text, optional overlay. And then we go. So it might take a little bit of time to generate it. So here you can see all of your different versions of outputs that you create is captured on the screen. And what I love about the user face here is that it also talks specifically, just like a mood board or I forgot the name of it, production board for a TV shoot would. So it'll give you the description of the scene for every frame that you end up working with. So every frame or scene is described in text as much as imagery as well. So I'll keep tracking along. So we've now got two different frames. So the first is the introduction. The second frame is really going into the product benefit. But now it's like, okay, we've got two different frames. We want to merge them together. So what's great about VO3 is that it's a tool that can merge a whole lot of frames together really seamlessly. Okay, right, we'll go back to here and we'll go text frames to video. So we can just go frames to video and we can choose the videos that we want to create. We're going to choose two images and it's this one. And I want add to scene, and then it will be this one that I want. And what is created from the back of that is then combining frames using VO3, the end product. And I will show you the end product by going into here. Ooh, and just play the full video merged together.
I never start my day without my Moody Functional AM blend. It's the best way to supercharge your morning. Try this warming, caffeine-free blend, formulated to give you up to 5 hours of energy without the crash. Moody, it's your AM ritual.
All right. Okay, so that gives you a feel for how VO3 would merge different frames together. Obviously, the transition, I haven't touched that since they were merged, but the transition could be optimized. The voiceover could be flattened. There's a lot of optimizations that could be done, either in VO3 or in another tool like CapCut. So what we would do is in CapCut, we would upload the video. We would add, for
I
example,
never start.
the brand logo. We would upload music that's brand aligned, add captions, or add legal disclaimers. So for those of you familiar with CapCut, then obviously we would upload the video here. We might decide to put captions, so we could create click auto captions here, generate, and captions would be generated relatively quickly. And obviously we might want captions, especially if this is a video or a reel for socials. And then obviously we can play around with different font types for that. So we might decide to bold, we might want to choose uppercase, for example, and create different styles of captions here. We might also want to create some audio. Sunrise might be interesting music. Obviously, it's a bit hard or challenging to put a music track when you've got a voice in a reel. So you'd want to do that quite strategically. So that's an option for music. Different effects. We can do intros and outros and also use CapCut to really seamlessly blend those two scenes together. And then, of course, we could upload additional B footage into this if we wanted to. We could put stickers if we wanted to make it fun for a reel, or we could add our brand assets on. I don't know if I've got a brand kit uploaded onto this version of CapCut, such as logos. Okay, and then we would literally download this version and upload it to where we need it to be. So if it was a product demo for our sales team, we'd download it and probably share it out by email. If it was a social reel for TikTok, then we would use a revised aspect ratio that's ideal for TikTok. If we knew it was for TikTok from the outset, then obviously that aspect ratio would go into the initial prompt, into ChatGPT, into Nano Banana, into VO3. Okay, so that gives you a bit of a feeling for what these AI tools are capable of and how we can take something which is AI generated and really customized for brand usage. Now, of course, if this was actually going to be used in the public domain, then you would want to own either the stock footage or you would be wanting to generate with AI from the outset, or if you wanted to use an existing talent shot that you would have the rights to use or vary that particular image using AI legally. And of course, any music or product usage, you'd need to make sure that you have the rights for. And of course, you'd add any legal disclaimers onto this if it was a scientific backed product. Okay, so that's customizing in CapCut. So this is an opportunity now. I know that the bandwidth has been low for this session and the video is a little bit hard to pop up and so forth, but I just wanted to stop and do a little bit of any Q&A, especially because I haven't had the chats up on the chat up on my screen while I've been doing this, and now I click on it and there's 11 questions. So let's go through those now. And let's see. Right, you can't get to the link. Someone has put it there. Thank you very much, Nicole. Right. So Nicole Frame, I'm going to answer your question first. Is this VO3 within Gemini or is it separate? Yeah, it's actually separate. So we've been using VEO3 in Google Flow because Gemini only has VEO. So it doesn't have the same capabilities. Definitely in the future, it'll have VEO3 and we'll be able to do what we're doing in Flow in Gemini. Okay. Right. So Claire says personal concerns using CutCut is that I've updated their T's and C's saying they own any output for perpetuity. They can do anything with videos used on their tools. Yeah. So absolutely, like every single tool that we use now is going to have different guidelines and points of view on AI, especially whether we're using their own stock imagery and how we do it. They're definitely going to be specifying how they want to treat AI generated images and so forth. So it is a bit of a learning journey as we go through each of the tools and understanding what their T's and C's are, but also understanding the different tools that we want to use. So equally, there's other tools like Descript, Canva, etc. for video generation. So it's about finding the right fit, the right guidelines that will be best use for the videos that we want to create. Cool. So it's a bit of a chat there. Um, so what are our thoughts about adding disclaimer that video is AI generated? Yeah, and I think it is a really good point. I think the more transparent and open you are, the better. Obviously, there's a lot of tools now, especially when it comes to socials, that we need to specify that things are AI generated. But I think I think a really good example is the skinny ad on TV that openly says at the outset and you almost uses it as its USP that it's that it's AI generated. And people seem to love it for that. So it's a learning journey over the next few months for all of us as we start to use AI generated content. Some of us may choose not to. Some of us might not think it's ethically right. Others may just love it. And it's also a case of whether this is for friends and family, whether this is just internal use, demos, or whether it's external use as well. Cool. So interesting your thoughts. How do you see this versus like in video using Sora 2? Definitely, I think Sora 2 is amazing. It's great. So Sora 2 can be used. I've just used Nano Banana because that's what I've been using for the past months ahead of Sora 2 being released. But I think what we're going to find over the next few months is that image quality when it comes to generation is just going to get even better. And so we're going to be constantly adapting to Sora 2. And definitely when Sora 2 is embedded into ChatGPT, I'm going to be using Sora 2 all the time. But right now it's only in the US for now. So yeah, so any other questions before we do a bit of a play around? Does everyone want to do a play around for a couple of minutes, or we can just equally do an extended Q&A? Because I think for some of you this might be completely new. For some of you, you might be doing a lot of this already. But great to get any feedback on what we want to do now, whether it's a play or just a continued Q&A. And feel free to go off mute and ask your questions as well, because there's a small group of us. Nicole, do you want to ask your question? I can see that there's one that's just popped up if you want to.
Yeah, sure thing. Just as you're talking, I'm just wondering whether there's any conversations out there about whether using AI actually devalues your brand in terms of content output. Like, for example, the skinny ad on TV. I personally don't like it. I think like it's almost a little bit lazy because they just let AI do it all for them. And I don't know if there's conversations out there about that, or because we obviously want to protect our strong brand and we don't want to put the AI put that at risk in any way.
Yeah. So every organization, every person is going to have a different opinion about it. And I think it's also a case by what is that AI being used for. So if we're talking about mainstream advertising on TV, then I think that's a huge conversation to have, right? So like as a marketeer, how do you feel about working on something AI generated if that was the brief versus using AI to get to a non-AI output, if that makes sense? So there's different ways that AI can be used, but there's different discussions to be had. And I just don't think there's a one size fits all point of view. There will definitely be brands that say actually like a policy of being we don't want AI to be the end output of anything. Sure, AI might get us there, but there will be brands that are absolutely embracing it. How it will be regulated, how will we know in the future what is AI generated or not? I don't know at this stage. That's up for the bigger players in terms of the social platforms to help formulate, and the media regulators, as well as the media platforms, whether it's TV, radio, or what have you. But it's going to be hard because it's a tool that makes life so much more efficient and faster. Where will people not be using it? So it's a really good discussion point, but I don't have all the answers. Cool. Yeah. Any other questions? Or does anyone want to jump into chat? We can just jump into Nano Banana and try out a few prompts. How does everyone feel? I guess the big question is, did everyone follow that demo? Any feedback on that demo? More than happy to do another session where we just have a bit of a play, or I mentioned that we would have open office hours. I haven't got those into the diary, but if there's demand for open office hours and we can get a session of at least 3 of us, then we can do something like this and then try and experiment with a lot of different prompts and help each other optimize those prompts and optimize those outputs, which could be a lot of fun. The other thing is, if you guys haven't already been into it, on the wellspirit.com resources page, I have dropped a prompting fundamentals guide for image generation. So you'll see that's the framework that I shared with you around the critical components of the framework of what a great photography brief looks like. So as I mentioned before, it's really good to have that as a check for what ChatGPT or other AI assistant or model creates for you in terms of getting to outputs. Because I know definitely 3 months ago when I was prompting, I was getting really frustrated because the outputs weren't really what I expected. But as the models are getting better, the outputs are getting better, but I still feel making sure that that framework is applied and making sure that you know exactly what's going in to get exactly what you want out is a really helpful way for optimizing this entire image, text to image workflow. Cool. Linda, do you need to get paid versions for all those platforms? No. So everything that I've created today hasn't been paid. You would have noticed on my Google Flow, I think I created around 5 videos in total, all 5 different frames, and that was coming close up to my 100 credits a month. But everything you can do for free, but there is a restriction. Okay, so you can probably generate 1 to 2 like videos after a series of attempts per month before you then need to go up to a paid version, which is great because it means you get to try and experiment to find the platforms that work for you, because there are a series of platforms out there. Cool. Yeah. So definitely have a play around. The prompts are there for you guys to use, tweak, see what you get. I have noticed that every time, because I did some experiments, I use those prompts myself. Sometimes I will have different outcomes. Where I use it with a bit of context, I get definitely similar outcomes from the same prompts. Where I go into a completely different chat, it will start afresh. So it's just important to keep that in mind. All right, well, we're coming up close to the hour. Please share any feedback on this, how it can be better. Please definitely check out the resources on the Wellspirit website. There's also another prompting fundamentals guide too, which talks to a lot of what we went through last week. And I'll send all of those links into the Slack chat too. So if there's any other questions, just pop them in the chat or ask now. Otherwise, over and out until Thursday. So great to have you guys here today. Bye-bye.